Hello everyone, I would like to share on something that I have titled The Power of Instructions. A while ago, I bought a pancake batter mix. So it was powder and it came with instructions on how to mix the batter and then make the pancakes. So this was a different type of batter mix than I was used to. I had previously used other types or made my pancakes from scratch. So when I read the instructions, I started following the instructions. But after a while, I got to a point where after I had mixed it according to the instruction, the consistency of the batter just did not look right to me. And when I say look right, I meant it did not look like what I was familiar with. I have been making pancakes from scratch since I was a teenager, like maybe 13, 14, right? So I have been used to a certain type of batter consistency depending on the style of pancakes that I'm making. This looks nothing like anything I have been familiar with or used to for over 15 years of making pancakes. So I kept looking at it and wondering, and I told myself, I said, this is not right. I need to add more. So I started adding more to the ingredients, more things that I felt were needed. I added more water, I added more liquid. I just added more things till I felt like it was now at the consistency that I expected it to be. And I felt good about myself. I went ahead to try frying up those pancakes. Needless to say, the pancake did not come out. Like, it did not form at all when I was frying it. And I sat there and I told myself, I said, Elizabeth, definitely the manufacturers of these pancake mix, they've gone through certain, QC processes. They knew what they were doing when they created the mix, and they added instructions that were specific to their products. For them to add that instruction, it was very clear that they knew that this is exactly what you need to do to be able to get the results that you're expecting. But you, in your familiarity, in your mind, in your own decision, felt like what you were seeing was not meeting what you were expecting to see. And so you went ahead to add your own to the instruction, and there you have it. And so I decided to redo another batch, and I did another batch and followed the instructions. And of course, the pancake came out the way it should. Ever since this happened to me, I have sat in such a profound realization of the power of instructions, of how easy it is for us to get to a point where especially when God is asking us to build, when we are called to pioneer things, to do things, it is very easy for us to fall into a mindset where we want to operate with the familiar. We want to do things the way we have always been doing things. We want to do things the way people have said it should be done. We want to do things the way we have seen other people doing it. And so we miss out. We begin to enter into frustration. Our result is not looking like what it is meant to be. Look, especially if what you're building, what you're doing, what the reach, the things that you're launching out into are things that that, look, this is something God is asking me to do. You must sit with him and ask for clarity, ask for instructions. Now, you might not get all the full picture, like you might not get step 1 to step 10, step 1 to step 100. But one thing is this: when God gives you a what, he has a how for how that thing should come to be. Many times we end up hearing, okay, this is the what that I feel God is asking me to do. And we don't wait for the how. We don't ask for the how. We move. We then want to bring our own how into the process. And this is where we begin to hit problem. I remember recently as well, my team were talking about some of the activities that we're doing with the brand and all of that. And they were saying, no, do this, let's do this, let's do this. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And they said, oh, this is how these people did it. This is how they were giving me examples. And I was like, that's a good idea. But for whatever reason, as soon as the meeting ended and I started to mull over the suggestions, I found myself getting anxious. And I said, okay, Lord, what is this anxiety about? Is this the anxiety of me stepping out of my comfort zone, doing something new? When you get into something new, something different, sometimes that feeling of just nervousness can come into place. What is this about? And as I sat with the Lord in that, he said, the reason you're feeling this way is because that's not what I sent you. That's not how I sent you to do it. You are beginning to step out of my pattern, step out of my instruction. And the feeling that you're having is a feeling, it's almost like an alarm system inside of you telling you that, look, hey, you're going out, you're deviating from the pattern that I have for you. And it was so profound. I was like, oh my God, I would just have gone, doing things that way because it sounded like the logical thing to do. And I remembered my pancake story again. And he said, look, there is always a how attached to the what. And if what you're going to get, if what you're going to build, if what you're going to do is something that you want the results to look like what I has decided it will be, then you have to be willing to stay in sync. Sometimes for some of us, it's ignorance. We just don't even know the how, right? We hear the what. Just imagine Noah had, oh, build me an ark. And he just stood and started running and said, oh, let's do this. Let's just, put things together. Not waiting for the how. Sometimes it is ignorance that keeps us stuck, that prevents us, or that keeps us in a loop where we're just doing the wrong things. So we don't have the how. We don't know what to do. Sometimes it is familiarity, right? Like in my own case with the pancake batter, we feel like, oh, I've been doing, oh, is it not this? That's very easy. I've been doing it. Is it not to speak? Is it not to talk? Is it not to, oh, I've been doing this. I'm so used to that. Is it not a business? I've been a businesswoman since I was 14. I've been doing this. I've been in sales. I've been in all of that. We try to bring the familiar and the old into the new that God is asking us to build. And that is where we begin to enter into problems, into situations. Other times, sometimes it's just because of people pleasing, right? We're seeing people say, oh, do it this way, do it that way. Look, it's okay. I mean, you can follow, do it this way, do it that way, if what you're trying to build is just your own personal ambition. But this is for people who know that, look, the Lord is calling me to build something. The Lord is asking me to go ahead and do something, put something out there. He's leading me in a certain way. You have to be very particular about ensuring that at every point in time, you're asking him, am I still in sync? Is this how you want me to do it? And more importantly, you have to be willing to obey. When the instructions come in a manner that is not consistent with what you have known or what you have heard or what you have seen before, be willing to obey. Be willing to launch out. Remember Peter, right? After they had toiled all night, and then Jesus came and said, launch out your net, right, into the deep. At first, he tried to tell Jesus, it's like, we've toiled all night. We did not catch anything. So what he was saying was, look, we have done it the professional way. The night is the best time to fish. It is quiet. It's easier to actually get the fish. Now, we didn't get it with that method. Now you're asking us to do it this way, to do it in the daytime, to do it at a time where we would typically not do it. Well, at your word, we will do it. And if you're familiar with that story, you know that the fact that he chose to obey that instruction and obey it correctly, obey it well, ended up in them catching having a net breaking catch. Same with the story of Naaman in the Bible, right? He had gone looking for healing. I'm sure he would have thought that, oh, the instructions he would get, or maybe the prophet will come out and tell him, give him some grand instructions, tell him this is what to do, and all of that. But he told him, just go and dip 7 times, right? And he had to follow the instruction to the letter. If he did not do it according to the pattern that he was told to do it, then he will not have gotten what he was supposed to get. So a time comes when it is very important that you don't just hear the what. You don't just have your why. You also need your how. It is okay to seek counsel. I'm all for counsel. I'm all for mentorship. Look, I have mentors. I have coaches and all of that. It is okay to seek all of that. But you must ensure that the voice that is superseding at all times is the voice of the counsel of the Spirit of God. And you must be willing, you must be audacious enough to say, look, I'm not going to do this if this is not what God is sending me to do. Sometimes we get carried away with the idea of trying to build to please people, trying to build to master a certain trend, a certain algorithm, a certain whatever it is. While it is important that you're keeping up with, the changes, the evolutions, understand that if you have been called to pioneer something by God, you cannot build by the precepts or the instructions of men. You must get your how from God. You must get your instructions, and you must be willing to follow those instructions the way He has given it to you. So this is me encouraging some of you who might say, okay, look, I know the words that I have, but I'm not clear. I'm in a place of confusion. I'm trying to do it this way or do it that way. Just pause and ask God, what is the next step? What is the next? Like, you don't even need 1 million steps ahead. What is the very next step for me to take? And when He gives you that instruction, it might not be how you expect it to be. It might not be what you expect it to be. When things are coming together and forming, they might not look the way you expect it to look, like the way my pancake batter looked so different from what I expected. But trust me, when you obey, when you follow those instructions, eventually you will see that your pancake will form. Your pancake would come into the consistency. And what matters, see, at the end of the day, always understand this. Success is not even in the end result itself. Success is in your obedience to the instruction. Your obedience is what really matters. Your obedience is where your success is. Your obedience, not the outcome. See, results that people have is not a proof that they are walking in line with the purposes of God for them. So your obedience is actually the proof of your success. Let God take care of the outcome. You obey. You mix the pancake batter according to the instructions that He has given you. And eventually, you would have the results, the right results that God Himself is intending to build, to put out, to bring in, to birth through you. I hope this has encouraged you. Until next time, stay well, stay blessed.